All right. Okay. I am live and I'm late, and I apologize for being late, but I want to talk about the shadow project. One moment here. All right. Okay. So I'm talking about the shadow project. I need to look at my notes because I wrote a ton of notes here. Hey, Maud. So some of you may have noticed my promotions that I recently uploaded with regards to the Shadow Project. And it's a project that I've been working on for quite some time, truthfully. And it's the result of, my transformative journey, what I've gone through over the last 3 years, especially. The work that I learned, that I now specialize in. And the desire to help others through their transformative journey. Hey, Chantel. And this work is the most powerful work that I've ever encountered, that helped me through what I needed to go through after trying everything else. I needed to go into the subconscious, and I had worked with therapists. I've worked with I've worked psychologists. I've worked with, I've gone on ayahuasca journeys. I've worked with healers. I've done everything essentially. And when I got to the place, this was over 3 years ago now, when I got to the place of being completely defeated by life, nothing was working. Then I was introduced to a healer who used this work, and it took me 6 months to get in to see her. But after that, it really changed a lot for me. And it was exactly what I needed at that time. And now I feel that in order for us to fully receive this work, and in order for us to gain the most benefit from it, we need to be ready. We need to be ready on a personal level, on a soul level, for us to say, I'm done with my life, my old life. I want something more. I don't want to be triggered. I don't want to feel this way that I'm feeling. I don't want to deal with emotions in a toxic way. I'm tired of my health speaking to me in toxic ways or being unhealthy. And so we really need to be at that place where we want change. And we're in this incredible timeline now in our collective where a lot of us are feeling this. We're in that time of transformation, of searching, of seeking, of asking those big questions, of wanting to change. And I'm going to go into a lot of these different areas because there are so many practices out there that teach us many things, and I'm not going to dismiss any of them. I feel that everything works for people who need that at that particular time. Hey, Tanya. So I feel that it's all relevant. It all is important for us. You know, all the different types of practices out there for healing and transformation all serve a place. I'm just speaking from my experience and from what I went through and the most effective work that I found. However, there's a disclaimer that's attached to it, and I'll go into it in just a moment because it's not for everyone. And I'm going to talk about some of my experiences working with others who weren't ready to receive this work, and what I feel was happening as a bit of a barrier or resistance to the work, to receiving it fully. Now, the Shadow Project is a new project. It is a group environment. It will be up to 10 people max, where we work together. It would be mostly just me talking like this, sharing information. I have a schedule completely already planned out. And I go through all the different stages for this particular one to deal with emotions. Now, emotions, we can sometimes like them. We can sometimes really feel uncomfortable in our emotions. And especially if we don't know what those emotions are or how to process them. And a lot of emotions come up as triggered results of unburied emotions or unresolved emotions that we have stored within our body. Now, unresolved emotions can eventually cause sicknesses, can cause diseases, can cause aches and pains within the body, can cause migraines, can cause hair loss, can cause all sorts of things. And when we have these stored energies within our body, then it creates some kind of reaction as a result. So the emotions are, I feel, for me, was probably the most challenging aspect to work on. But now that I've worked on it, I spent years with resentment, living in resentment of my family life, resentment of the failures, resentment of my inability to create success, of the things that I did wrong in my life, all the challenges that I wore on myself on a regular basis. I carried so much negativity and fear, and again, the resentment of the past. These things can really weigh us down consciously or unconsciously. Anger as well, the fear, especially shame. If we fail, then it's difficult sometimes to pick ourselves up and to recreate success again, or to put ourselves out there again, or even the fear of really putting ourselves out there and expressing ourselves. So the emotions show up in so many different forms. They can be very obvious, like sadness and crying, or anger or frustration, or they can be very subconscious and cause us from preventing us to speak our truth, or to speak our voice, or to feel comfortable in our body, or to feel comfortable expressing ourselves with others, or opening our heart especially. And so humanity, I really feel that a lot of us haven't been raised in, or haven't experienced unconditional love, and have had all of our needs met, and have had the love that we needed in order to feel safe, in order to feel like we could express our heart and to speak from the heart. And it's not just even in how we were raised, but I mean, myself included, going through life, living with, I thought, an open heart, but having all these internal wounds caused so many conflicting relationships that really were very toxic and very difficult on me, because I had an open heart, but I had all of these conflicting emotions and subconscious beliefs that got in the way of me attracting the right kind of people who were healthy for me with that open heart energy, that open heart frequency. So there are all these unconscious modes that we have within ourselves. Now I want to talk about trauma as well. So if you've gone to my website, if you looked at the Shadow Project, I shied away from using trauma as one of the words in this, because I feel that it could be very healing, but it also could be very, it could turn people off a little bit, because I never thought that I had trauma. I thought that trauma was for, severe PTSD, people like those who went to war, or, severe abuse, or, really, really intense things. But when I really went into this work, I discovered, I had a lot of trauma, and it made me actually really go into the Word and to really uncover, and to not uncover, but to feel comfortable with the Word, or to feel comfortable with what I've gone through in the past, in a way of not living unconsciously in the past and in those energies and in those traumas and in those subconscious wounds, but seeing them as an experience and starting to create the distance between myself and those experiences of the past, and starting to look at them as learning experiences. Okay, I see this. I understand that this has happened in my past. Now, how do I heal from it and let it go? And the more that we go through this process, we open up more for greater experiences. We let go of the past. We let go of these unconscious patterns or limitations or attachments. And if you think of everything as energy, that's very much what it is. But it becomes very psychological. It affects our emotions. It affects our thoughts. It affects our body. It affects our physique. It affects our relationships. It affects everything. And speaking of the physique, I've changed I mean, I have photos of myself 4 years ago, and I look like a completely different person. My energy was rigid. I was hard. I was in my masculine energy. I was trying to prove myself. I was trying to create a successful business. Nothing was working. And that's why, since I've done this work, I've let go of all of that energy. It's just been like one big, massive detox in a way of all of these limiting energies that were really holding me down and weighing me down. So the word trauma, it's used in this, it's used in the Shadow Project, but I really want to work in a way of reframing the word and reframing our understanding of it, because we won't move on as individuals or as a collective, as humanity, until we start getting real about what we've gone through. And it's not getting real in a negative way, it's getting real in a real way, so that we can look at all of the different aspects within ourselves and what we've gone through in the past, how we've been raised, some of the other situations that we've gone through in our life, so that we can start to create that distance and we can start to dissect and understand, so that we can unravel those attachments or those old belief systems and create new ones. And we'll only be able to create new ones and new opportunity and growth when we go out when we've processed the old, when we've gone into the past and been able to let go of some of those understandings or those stories or attachments, right? So the self-actualization is where we're going as a collective right now. This is what's happening in the collective. We're moving towards a higher state of consciousness. We're moving towards greater awareness, where if you're watching this, if you're here, then that's probably you as well. You're probably seeking and searching and healing and transforming and going into yourself and making improvements and wanting a better life and wanting a greater experience. And that's part of what this is. And it furthers the ability to understand self in a very deep way. And the emotions are huge. And if we're not connected with our emotions, then we suppress them, then we lose the connection with our body. We lose the connection with our intuition. We lose our senses become lowered. So our senses, as in our intuition, our feeling people, the human connection, processing emotions within ourselves, understanding ourselves in a very deep and multidimensional way. And this is, again, something I've gone through, and my emotions were my nemesis. Like, I would live in my emotions. I would wallow in my emotions. There would be fear, there would be negativity, there would be worry, there would be doubt, there would be sadness and happiness and all sorts of all over the spectrum. And now I'm very neutral. And if the emotions do come up, I'm very quick at understanding the impact of them and not to give them my energy. And that it is a lot of work, but the more that we do this kind of work, the faster it happens. And the easier it is to develop a greater sense of self-awareness, so that we can look within rather than becoming those emotions and getting carried away with them and feel like we're going out of control, like we're in a downward spiral. No, life does not have to remain toxic. It doesn't have to remain in despair at all. And there are some spiritualists out there who feel that this is going to be with us for our lifetime here or eternity, because it's part of our human experience. I don't believe that. In fact, I believe that we all have the ability to resolve past wounds and those difficulties and move towards detaching from it altogether. And that's the work that I've been doing on myself. And from where I was 3 years ago to where I am today, night and day difference, completely. Like I hardly even hardly even really fall into emotions. I mean, once in a while. I know October was a really difficult month, but I did go through a huge transformation then. I went through a massive, massive death and rebirth. And those moments will come up. That's what we need in order to purge these old memories, these old subconscious beliefs, these old traumas or wounds or ancestral wounds or past life wounds. But we go through those moments, but afterwards we feel better. And when we know how to manage the emotions in a healthy way and just allow for this to happen, but know what we want as the outcome. And again, the awareness is key. The more that we feel into our emotions rather than suppressing and rather than not giving into those emotions, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we understand where those emotions are coming from, what they're teaching us, how we can recover, how we can heal, and how we can treat ourselves well during those emotional times, rather than drinking a lot of alcohol or doing drugs or being really hard on our bodies. Finding a way to work through these moments where we're treating ourselves with care and compassion, so that we can work through it in a healthy way and not be afraid of it, not hate the emotions, or fall into those traps of my life sucks and I'm never going to get out of this, and I'm never going to feel love, or I'm never going to be with anyone, or I'm just going to be in this. And we fall into those moments of despair very easily. And those are old programs. Those are what keeps us tied to the limitations of the past. So that's what this work does. And it resolves us from those attachments and gives us liberation from those old paradigms that we live in. Now, the emotions, now it could be anger, resentment, fear, depression, guilt, shame, grief. I just need to look at, I think I covered all of these. Numbing as well. So, I've seen this before many times. Numbing can be watching a lot of TV, alcohol, drugs, of course, detaching from life in any kind of way, not wanting to face emotions, distractions. So these numbing techniques or numbing traps, I guess, that we can fall into, they do exactly what I was just mentioning. So they create they detach ourselves from connecting with our bodies, from connecting with our own energy, our own frequency, from understanding maybe what like finding healthier alternatives for ourselves, or how we can treat our bodies better, or how we can find healthier solutions. Maybe the numbing could be watching TV rather than learning how to achieve better health or wellness, and really connecting with the body. So the numbing comes in many ways, but it's the inability to want to face the emotions. So if there have been traumas in the past that have been unresolved, there's a very common reaction that will separate the body from the soul in a way, the connection. So there's a disconnect with the body and soul, and wanting to. Sometimes we have to go into the past a little bit to relive some of what's happened, not the actual traumas. And I do need to say that's what this work doesn't do. We don't go into the traumas that have happened. We don't relive some of these traumas. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a clinical psychologist where I go into these moments where people relive, and some spiritualists go into the shadow work and go into the really dark stuff and have it come up and purging all of this like really toxic energy. That is not what this is. That is not what this is. This is a safe space where we get to talk about it and we get to talk through it. So similar thing with tarot. Tarot, or if you have someone tell you something, or even if you think of the past, like you think of maybe how your mother treated you, or the relationship you had with your sibling, or the relationship with your father, and you think about it, and then all of a sudden you have a realization. And when you have that realization, you get to almost put that to rest, or you come to peace with it in a way, and then you get to move on. And that's a little bit of what this, well, very much what it is. And when you hear the words in the right way, and when you're guided through this in the right way, then you get to move on from the past. You get to clear the space from the past. You get to understand more about what's happened and connect the dots in order for you to have the clarity to move on. This is not about reliving traumas, and it's not about going into the really ugly places and memories that we have within ourselves. It's far different. And that's why I love this work, and that's why it's been very powerful for me. It's far beyond that. It's far beyond that. And I never felt that treatments that I've gone through, some other practices that have brought up some of the old energies, they feel good after a moment, but then you end up going back into the past. You end up reliving some of these old memories. This allows you to move on. It allows you to move on. And once you cut those attachments mentally, psychologically, energetically, emotionally, then you get to move on, right? So you make sense of it. And it's like the tarot, as I mentioned, when you have someone almost give you a reading of something that you kind of know, it's buried in the background, and they tell you, they give you that clarity, then you get to open up a new network, a new neural network for creating more, for more opportunity. And that's very much how it works. Okay. So just check, make sure I covered everything. Yeah, so the emotions affect our reality. So this is it's even if you follow Joe Dispenza, I mean, he articulates this perfectly. He has a whole body of science that backs all of this up. I love his work. I highly recommend checking him out if you haven't heard of him before, or reading the book Becoming Human or Supernatural. I think it's Supernatural. It's an amazing, amazing book, and it ties all of this up together perfectly. Our emotions basically dictate our ability to believe in what we want to create, or the life that we are living in. So if you're manifesting and you feel worth $1 million, then you are going to create that lifestyle. If you want $1 million with your mind, I want $1 million. Well, that's good. I mean, it's a good start. But if you don't believe it, then you won't achieve it. And it's going to take longer for you to achieve until you believe it. But here's the catch that he doesn't talk about, that our subconscious belief system feeds our emotions and feeds into our belief system. Not many people are talking about the subconscious. Now, this is why I really am this I feel is going to the root cause. And this is why I love this work, because I'm the kind of person that doesn't stop until I know that I've hit the source, until I know that I've gone right to the root cause of what is creating some kind of reaction. So that's what this does. And it goes right to that source place. It goes right into the subconscious. So what is the subconscious? Well, the subconscious is our belief system that's formed since early childhood. Now, it also can play into past life. It can play into ancestral beliefs or energies that we've, inherited or adopted since we were in utero, very young. It also is how we were raised by our parents. And so when we see the world as a construct of a certain reality, and if we're living in patterns, then we start to form that as our reality and our belief system. Now, I'm not going to get too much in past lives, but some of this work does cover past life. I just want to stick mostly to the subconscious in this one, so I can go off into many different directions. So the subconscious is formed early in life, but it keeps forming and it keeps forming. And the more, when we work more in these subconscious ways, we feed and strengthen that subconscious belief system, and it becomes very, very strong within us. And then that's when the ego starts to come in. So when we have something in our outer world that might challenge our belief system, our ego is going to hold on to it very strongly, because our ego, it becomes very comfortable. It becomes limiting, of course. If there are false limiting beliefs around maybe success or love or money, if we haven't felt unconditional love growing up, we may, if we saw our parents not loving each other, or if they were fighting, or if there was poverty or control over money or fighting over money, these form our belief systems. I'm just using a couple very, very basic, I feel common ones that a lot of us could experience. And then later in life, in ways we recreate those belief systems, and those belief systems have a ripple effect of the level of success we can create, the comfortability around the success, and we sabotage our success and we sabotage our love because of those belief systems that we have in our life, or we react to certain ways because of the belief systems that we have in our subconscious. So that's how it plays out in a very broad spectrum. But the belief system is at our core, is at our very core, and it is constantly sending signals out to our conscious, to our thoughts that trigger our emotions. And remember earlier I said the emotions create our belief system. I believe I am successful. I believe that I am love. I believe that I am unconditional love. I believe that I am with the partner I feel comfortable with. I believe that I can create the success and abundance that I want. Now, we can say that. We can say, I believe it, I want it, I desire it. But if we don't feel it on a very deep level, if we say it, but then there's a hesitation or something in the subconscious is not allowing us to fully step into that and embody it, then something in our subconscious needs to be released. It needs to be addressed, but it's very difficult to reach it until we do this work, until we go into the subconscious. And I've been using this work on myself. I've worked with a healer for almost 2 years, and now I've been working on this myself, thank goodness. Otherwise, I'd still be stuck in my old paradigm. I'd still be stuck in my old belief system that would limit me, even though I wanted success and I wanted abundance. But I was going through all these triggers, and these triggers were coming up in moments of if I wanted to create YouTube videos, or if I wanted to go live, or if I wanted to create some kind of level of success, I would still have a bit of fear. I might distract myself by doing something else instead. Oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. Or maybe the time isn't right. Or maybe I need to have it more perfect than it really is. Or, I would find excuses and I would self-sabotage myself. And that's how these little things play out. Or there would be just a little bit of a fear inside of me if I would launch something new. What if I don't sell anything? Or what if I don't, what if this doesn't reach as many people? This is the fear, and these are the old paradigms within ourselves that this work helps to dismantle. And especially with love as well, moving into a state of unconditional love with others, with relationships, with family, healing family wounds is very important as well with this work. Because unless they are healed, then they still, again, have some kind of influence in our ability to step into our self-worth, into our potential and power and potency. That's a very, very key aspect as well. Yes, so the I am statements, I'm sure you know of what they are. I'm sure you know of the I am statements. I already did mention I believe. So the I am statements are great, and that is part of subconscious reprogramming. But if you already have a very strong subconscious belief system, then the I am statements, they may not work 100%. They may only work maybe to a certain level. They're good to use, and they're good to bring a belief within yourself. But again, in a subconscious way, if you're not there, and if you're not 100% believing and feeling that you are powerful, that you are loved, that you are successful, then you won't achieve it. You won't manifest it, or it will become very limited in the ability that you can reach it, right? So the I am statements are only as good as how you feel about yourself in your belief system. So if there are still limitations around creating success and wealth and really going for it, like really coming to terms and being honest with self, then you're only going to be able to get so far, and you're only going to be able to attract so much. The law of attraction. So our energy is constantly sending out signals, right? And if we are not in a high vibrational frequency of love, success, abundance, fulfillment, whatever we want to create, then we're going to only attract that certain vibration that we're sending out, not the high vibration signal that we want of the great manifestations or the great experiences in life. So we might want something of a high level experience, but maybe we might feel more comfortable staying inside and being alone. But if we stay inside and be alone, then how are we going to experience life in all forms of reality? So these, again, we may feel comfortable being somewhere else but we might fantasize of having something greater, but we need to bring them together. And in order to bring them together and to create that future that we want, we have to go into the past. We have to let go of what is making me feel so comfortable being at home by myself, rather than being out and living life and experiencing life to its fullest. Let's see. Emotional traumas. So I want to talk about the traumas again. So emotional traumas are just as damaging as physical traumas. So you may look at someone who, or maybe even just think of maybe someone who's had physical trauma or abuse, and think, wow, I'm so glad I never had that, or I'm so glad that I wasn't raised in an abusive family. But if you hadn't felt true unconditional love, and if your needs weren't met, if there was neglect, if there was emotional abandonment, then there's going to be a lack of emotional fulfillment within self. And it is going to affect your confidence. It's going to affect your ability to love and to feel love and to receive love. And if we're in a place of not feeling comfortable receiving love because maybe we haven't received love in our past, then we're not going to feel comfortable receiving abundance. We're not going to feel comfortable receiving success. We're not going to feel comfortable receiving life. And these again play out in our subconscious. And they play out in a very subconscious way. So emotional, if you want to call it abuse, you can call it abuse. You can call it a lack of love. You can call it not having needs met as a child. You can have abandonment is a huge one, emotional abandonment. Now, these all play out also in attachment styles, which is very important to understand as well. So our attachment styles are also connected to how we were raised on an emotional level. So if we had emotional detachments from our family in life, then we may hold on to love, or we might reject love. And that comes in all forms. Love is also success. It's also self-worth. Hey, Samini. It's also in how we interact with our life. It's how we manifest. It's how we create. So the emotions are at the root of it all. Well, the root of it all is the subconscious, but the subconscious feeds into the thoughts trigger emotions. And if we don't feel healthy, if we don't, and I'm talking about on a subconscious level, if we don't feel successful, if we don't feel worthy, if we don't feel confident, if we have low worth and low values and low esteem, then that is just going to that's going to affect our ability to create and manifest. It's going to attract those equal vibrational experiences. But it all comes from the subconscious, and it all comes from how, again, what we've grown up with in the past, how we were raised, past life as well does play into it. Abandonment is really huge. Emotional abandonment. I've had emotional, physical, psychological abandonment. They all do play into the attachment styles as well, but also in either being easily detaching from situations, being able to walk away easily, which I've done. I can easily walk away from anything. It's almost to the extreme extent where I can just easily go, yeah, no, done with that. I don't want to feel that anymore. Not wanting to feel the feeling, and maybe being the first one to abandon a situation rather than feeling the abandonment in that situation, because I've gone through it a lot in my life already. I feel more and more at peace with it. I feel more and more stabilized with it because I've done this work. But I do recognize these things within myself, and I can easily troubleshoot, if you will, and have the awareness of how to work through the situations because of this work, because I've developed more awareness around this. And this is a work in progress. It's not a linear process. It's very multidimensional, meaning we have different aspects within our mind. We have aspects within our heart, our emotions, our intuition, our spiritual self, our physical self within the physical world. This all connected. It is all connected. And so we have to pay attention to all these different aspects. And it's not meaning being paranoid and being overly cautious, but the more awareness that we develop by letting go of some of these situations from the past, or having the realizations through this work, then we get to have greater awareness, and we see more. We see the truth within ourselves. We see the truth within relationships. We can get honest with ourselves. Oh, maybe I'm being a bit of an asshole right now, or maybe I'm holding on too tightly, or maybe I'm and owning it. Really owning ourselves. And not a lot of people do that. It's easy to pass it off, or not want to admit it, or not want to apologize, or not wanting to just say, you know what, I fucked up. Sorry, guys, I'm going to fix that. And doing something about it afterwards. We have a very unconscious life happening out there, but you're here because you are working with your consciousness, and this is where we are evolving towards, is to a higher state of consciousness. And that is the awareness with ourselves. It is the awareness with others. But we still have a very unconscious reality, or unconscious side of humanity that exists in the world. But it's really much about what we can do with ourselves, or within ourselves, to create the change here first, right? So the results of this work, it is, like I said, moving towards a higher state of consciousness. It's greater awareness. It's the evolution that we have the ability to evolve in this lifetime to that higher state of consciousness. And through our ability to raise our consciousness and to heal ourselves, we also heal others. And we also are able to heal old ancestral wounds, heal family dynamics, come to peace within ourselves, form greater awareness, let go of the old stuff that we've been carrying, Like I said, it also changed my physiology. My face has changed. My body has changed because I've just let go of all the tension and the negativity and old buried wounds that I had within myself. And I created a lot more awareness around that. And it's also moving into unconditional love and understanding what unconditional love is. And unconditional love heals. We can easily react in an unconscious way, getting hurt, getting angry, becoming judgmental or in fear over a situation. But the only thing that's going to heal humanity and the only thing that's going to heal ourselves is unconditional love. And it takes extreme power to be in that frequency and to own it without the ego playing in and without the old emotions coming in and trying to move into old patterns or wanting to prove or wanting to say or wanting to hurt or wanting to protect or wanting to go back into the old systems, because the ego likes that, and the ego loves to go back into what feels familiar and holds on to it very tightly. So this is breaking that tie and breaking that familiarity, but also moving towards more trust. Moving towards, okay, what does it feel like being in a frequency that I haven't actually experienced before? And moving into that love and moving into that expansiveness. And like I said, unconditional love, it heals. And that is the frequency and that's the vibration that is going to heal the planet and is going to heal, again, like I said, our family, is going to heal other relationships. If you have two people in a conflict and one person is like really, really mad and fighting and angry, and you have the other person saying, I hear you, I get you, how can I help? And sending that love to that person, what does this person do? They calm down, they ease up, they come to a place of calmness and understanding. Unless they're completely psychotic, I shouldn't say that in a derogatory kind of way, but unless they're really like at that place where they'll never temper their heart or they'll never open their heart, then, you just let them go and you see them for being in that much pain that they probably will never come to that place of understanding. But the majority of people that we have around us, family members, especially friends or coworkers, or even just someone we might run into on the street, it takes so much strength to not react, and it's really difficult. But the more of the personal power that you can be in and that more unconditional love that you can be in, it changes that dynamic. It softens people up. It helps them heal. It helps them realize as well maybe some of these triggers that they have within themselves. So the triggers are just, again, as I mentioned, unresolved wounds that we have within ourselves that come up as unconscious actions. So it can come up in how we react to things, how the decisions that we make, how we treat our body. But the more that we understand our emotions and the more releasing that we can do, again, of this type of work, then the more we can move into understanding and love and heal ourselves and heal the world. So if you're unfamiliar with the work that I do with the Shadow Project, with the healing work, I use this work from Dr. Michael J. Lincoln. I have one for the body. I also have one which focuses on problematic patterns. So there's psychological patterns that we live in and that we adopt and that we cycle through or that we recreate in our reality. So the body one, and the behavioral patterns are a completely different type of energy. But I focus on in this group environment within the Shadow Project, I would focus on the group as a whole. So I would do the release work as a whole. So if any of you watching this, if you have anything you want released right now, let me know. So type it in, as far as it could be a body ache, it could be an emotion, messages from the body. There is a disclaimer with this because I've had people buy this book, but there's a little bit of a learning curve to work with it, to use it properly. So a couple of people bought the book and then they didn't really get the benefits from it because it's part intuitive energetic work that I do. Well, it's mostly that. Part of it's literal. So if you said that I have a knee pain, then I would go into the knees. But then I use the pendulum. So I work with my intuition and the connection with the person or with the group. And then I find what's in here to read to the group for releasing. So definitely, I mean, I always encourage buying this book because it's it's amazing. I can't believe, I wish this person was still alive, this Dr. Lincoln. But he left an incredible body of work behind. It does just require a certain, it just requires a bit of a learning curve to work with it properly. But if you have any aches or pains or any emotions that you want released right now, you can let me know. But otherwise, I can just go in here and I'll just read. It is Messages from the Body. So it's part psychological, part energetic work. So this doctor was a clinical psychologist, but he was also a spiritualist. So we'll go into hip. We'll go into the hip. Thank you. So there are these passages in the book that are written that say they, and when you read it, you have to say you. So I'll say it to you. I'll say you. There'll be words in here like dysfunctional family. I've read for people before where they'll say, well, my family wasn't dysfunctional. Actually, I had one, left hip. Okay, perfect. Yesterday, actually, I read for someone and they said, well, my family wasn't dysfunctional. I said, okay, every family is dysfunctional. And we have to look at dysfunctionality as we're not there yet as a collective. We're not living in unconditional love or completely evolved state of consciousness yet. Some are, but a lot of the families that we were raised under were not. And so we need to, some people will say, I mean, for me, I can say, yeah, I've had an extremely dysfunctional family. I have no problem saying that because I have. But some people will say, well, no, my family was not dysfunctional. But again, going back to, I'll look at your knee as well, Maria. Yeah, thank you. Right, I just need to go left hip first because I'll get distracted. Hip. So yeah, just as a heads up, it'll say things like dysfunctional family, but you just have to feel the words. I've used this for, I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. So it'll be 3 years in this summer. It's 2.5 years. But I've used this for my emotions. I've used it for my ADHD, ADD. I've used it for, like some days if I feel very angry, my body, sometimes I might have my hip, I get bad IT. If I'd be in the gym for a bit and sometimes I won't be able to sleep, I'll go into the book, I'll read a passage, gone, just like that. But I've been doing this for a long time. Even if I feel fearful, if I feel fearful of creating abundance or opening up my life to new experiences, I go in here and I do the work, right? So it's a lot of releasing. But like I said, in the with the group environment for the program, working with the emotions, I would do this for the group. Okay. Sorry, I talk and I flip and I get distracted. Okay. So, okay, Maud, awesome. Thank you. I'll look that up as well. Okay, so is that right hip? Left. Okay. So what I would usually do is I'll do one, so I'll look right at the left hip, but I'll also just look for another one because sometimes there are connected energies. Excuse me. So you have the literal, the left hip that's in here. Sometimes if someone would say, I can't remember what's not in here. Actually, I think ADHD or ADD is not in here. So I would look for connectors that would connect someone to feeling distracted or feeling like they couldn't process information cognitively. And I would look for other things that would connect to that feeling or that sensation. So even if someone was emotional and said, would say, yeah, I'm going through a lot of anger, or I'm going through a lot of frustration, or I'm going through a lot of guilt, then I would go through this and work on finding them the connectors of that feeling so that they can let go of some of those heavier, denser energies and move into releasing. So on the left hip, it says bonding and competence. So there are issues concerning your sense of lack of belonging, connectedness, and intimacy, both sexual and non-sexual. There is a felt lack of groundedness and gross incompetence in this arena. This is an urban hermit, inability to be vulnerable and close, because to do so is to invite destruction, to judge from your family experience. So there may have been, so it goes into the wanting to close and protect the heart, because if something happened where you felt vulnerable as a child or as a young person, when you felt vulnerable and you felt like your heart was opening and something happened that closed that vulnerability down, then this is the result of that. So there are probably other things also involved in here. So let me know if that resonates with you. But I want to look at something else for your left hip. There's this one as well. This is under hip joint. Oh no. You are intensely reluctant to proceed in the direction that things seem to be headed. You are unbendingly resistant to moving forward on this. You have a strong distrust of yourself with regard to your relationship to power and or sexuality. And you also don't trust the world or the universe. You are the product of a self-distrust-inducing dysfunctional family who made you highly insecure about your own motivational systems and the environment around you. So I know it goes a bit deep. That's why I had to give a disclaimer. So it can be very, for me, I don't have a problem with this, because sometimes we need to, our higher self and our subconscious needs to hear in order to release. So when you have these words said, even if some of them might not fit 100%, try to feel into what it's providing for you for the release. So I hope that resonates with you. Oops. Yeah, so it would come from teenage then. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. So let's go knee. Maria. Okay, so let's go knee. I've had all of these, knee and hip, and all of them. Let's see. Knee, I would get often actually if I would feel that if there was change coming, because knee is also about movement. It's about progress, the knees. So if change was coming and I was resisting it, I would get a knee, like a little tweak in my knee that would come up. But again, I would do this work and it would be resolved instantly. Okay, so Maria, I don't know what side, but I'm just going to use intuitive work. Oh, left knee. Okay. All right. All right, so this is left knee. So I use a pendulum. I don't know if I mentioned this already. Yeah, definitely heartache. There's something, I'll find it. I know there's something related to heartache. I can't remember what it comes up as, but I'll find it. Left knee, fundamental assumption outmolding. So when I read this, you feel the words. So allow for the words to connect with you on a deep level. Just be open as much as possible, and you allow the energy to release, right? And then it also opens up awareness around these our life, like what's happening and how things are connected, and going into our past and understanding, and again connecting those dots, and then you move forward with more understanding and more awareness and compassion about some of these things that you have within yourself as well that might show up. Okay, fundamental, so this is the left knee. Fundamental assumption outmolding. Your beliefs about things that provide stability and meaning, like your spiritual values, your destiny strategies, your identification figures and groups, and your intimates are all being put out to pasture. You are therefore rudderless with regard to direction-taking commitments to manifest your selfhood, destiny, and purpose in life. You tend to not be attuned or responsive to the things that happen in your life as a result. You are in deep conflict about the independence expression versus devotion to God's will. The outcome is a lot of insecurity and situational stress. So on a deep level, and sometimes I need to clarify some of this too, because it can be very, some of it is a little bit abstract, but let me know if that resonates. But what's happening with you right now could be that you're questioning maybe your direction on life or what you thought was real or reality, and now you're trying to form a new sense of either self or direction in life, which could be challenging your subconscious in a way of your belief with what you want to manifest and your belief with what you knew in the past to be true. So there could be a little bit of that happening, but I just want to look at something else here. So there's something holding you back from carrying out your destiny in some kind of way. And that also could be what's happening with you right now, where you feel that you may feel something within you is preventing you from fully stepping into your destiny, fully. Open heart, open mind, open soul. Okay, so let's look. There's one more here for you. Under the left. Okay. Hell no, I won't go. You are systematically refusing to respond to your inner imperatives to manifest your destiny in accordance with your soul's intent and with the divine design. So I almost want to recommend to, if you feel yourself at a subconscious level resisting or holding back or fearful of letting life fly, let go. And see where you can let go of if there's resistance. And resistance, I mean when we want to hold on or prevent ourselves from fully opening up into the future or fully manifesting what we feel called towards. And sometimes it may require a big decision, or maybe to do something daring or to come to terms with something as well. So there's something there that could be, that you might be feeling pulled back a little bit with. Okay, Maud. Oh, wait. Heartache. 1 second. Okay, if I missed anyone, let me know. But Maud, back, shoulder. Oh, shoulders are good. Shoulders is where we carry the weight of the world. The pressures, self-imposed pressures. Sometimes we have self-imposed, self-imposed pressures, stresses that we put on ourselves. The shoulders is where we carry it. Shoulders and back are the big areas where we hold a lot of the pressures of our life. And you're a life path 9, like I am, aren't you? And that's old energy. Shoulders. Where am I? So I do like to do, when I do this work for people, I do like to look at their life path number, their zodiacs, and it gives me a lot of information actually about how one would work with energy, maybe what they have within their soul blueprint. Okay. Right side. Okay, this is for Maud. This is your right shoulder. The buck stops here. You have always felt that it is your sole responsibility to make things work. You have taken an over-responsible, underappreciated, and hyper-accountable role because you found early on that if you didn't do this, all hell would break loose. Now you suddenly have to reevaluate and redecide what exactly your responsibilities in the world actually are. It's a little bit of that Taurus energy as well, right? Holding, like supporting, nurturing, caring, but it's almost too much, right? But then when you let go, because you may have been operating like that for a while, then you get used to it. Then you carry that pressure and that strain, and it's almost as if there's that reevaluation that happens when you let go of that responsibility. Then what? Then am I not fulfilling my needs, or do I feel guilty for not taking on enough, right? So there could be some of that coming into play. Okay, this one as well is coming up for you. What are you doing? You are deeply alarmed at the turn things are taking, and you feel that a ship of fools is taking you down the tubes. You therefore feel a drastic need to take a hands-on control of the situation and or system. At the same time, you have had it up to the gills with this kind of responsibility. But then again, you feel that you can't just stand by and let it happen. The result is that you are prone to become immobilized in conflict, frustration, and self-cancellation. Yeah, so if you feel like all of a sudden there's so much responsibility, and if you don't do something about it, then it's not going to get done, then you're carrying all of this, and then you might all of a sudden become immobilized with movement and flow of being in the moment or troubleshooting or problem solving. So you're carrying a lot of pressure. And if you feel that you're carrying the responsibility of others, let it go. It's sort of similar to what I said at the other one. All right. Heartache, Penny. Right, this one. Grief. It's tied to grief. There's something in here about, I can't remember what it was. I feel it was right at the, here it is. I think this is it. Yeah. This is under aches, but it's tied to heart smarts, okay? Heart smarts. You are experiencing an intense sense of sadness and deprivation. And so when I read the words again, just listen and allow emotions to flow if you feel it. It's going to release some of these energies from within you, but there's grief in there on a very unconscious level that hasn't been processed in some kind of way or released on a very subconscious level. So heart smarts. You are experiencing an intense sense of sadness and deprivation, a deep need or desire for something that is not being fulfilled. You have an intense longing for love, a pronounced sense of being alone on your own forever, and a desperate need for being held arising from a feeling of undeservingness. You feel utterly separated from and unable to connect with any source of love, and you feel that nobody cares about you. You are aching to be held and loved, and you feel that all your attempts to do anything about it are derailed or futile. It was created by a severely rejecting family. Yeah, that goes into the emotional abandonment. That's yeah, I've had that one before myself. When we don't have the emotional love and those needs that are met, then we have that gaping need within our heart that is difficult to fulfill until we again do this work, until we release those old subconscious beliefs. Yeah, so I hope that helped. Let me know if that resonated. Hey, Monica. All right. Well, if anyone else doesn't have anything else to release. So again, this is all part of the work that, beautiful. I'm glad. Yeah. Hey, Monica. Yeah, it's good to see you. No, so actually, yeah, of course it is recorded. It is recorded. I hope that I've had some issues with Instagram when I've posted my live videos after, and the sound doesn't sync with the video. So I hope it does record properly, but I will post it. But if it doesn't record properly, then I'll probably take it down. But usually in the moment, it works really well. I've had someone record the readings afterwards, and sometimes they don't get the same effect because it's already been released. But you can have it again come up. I've reread many of these for myself before. But yeah, so if reach out to me anytime if you're interested in some of this work. The Shadow Project, of course, is a group environment. It's very, very supportive, very nurturing. Going through all of the different layers of our emotions, understanding triggers, especially how to manage it, how to work through them, and this work as a group. So they will be twice a week for a month, and there'll be huge transformation after this. So the link is in my bio, so make sure to check it out. Hope to see you there. If you have any questions at all, please, reach out to me. I love connecting with everyone, and yeah, wonderful. I'm glad that resonated. So I'm wishing you all the best with the rest of today. I'll come back on here. Just keep an eye open for more of these so I can do some more releasing as well. So I'm wishing you all the best here, and see you soon.